Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all for taking time to touch base with us and for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about Second Harvest Food Bank, because it's certainly been an interesting story, an interesting year for us as a food bank. And I just wanted to make sure that I have the opportunity to tell you what we've been doing and to answer any questions about how we've been doing it and how we've been taking care of people here in southern Wisconsin.
Okay. That's good.
We Second Harvest's mission is to we exist to end hunger in southwestern Wisconsin, and I wanted to just continue on with that. That basically what people don't realize is that as a food bank, people sometimes think that we only serve Dane County or we just serve Madison. That's not the case at all. We actually are the food bank that helps distribute to people in need throughout the southern part of the state in Wisconsin, in the southwestern part of Wisconsin. So we serve a 16-county area, and through that, we typically would meet nearly 1 million requests for assistance each year.
Wow.
Yep. So our service area is this area that goes from the Illinois state line, goes west to the Mississippi River, goes up north to Adams and Juneau County, and east to parts of Dodge and Jefferson County. And within that area, we work with over 200 partner organizations in that 16-county area. One of our good partners, by the way, I heard you mention Middleton Outreach Ministry. Obviously, that is one of our partner organizations that we help provide food to on a regular basis. So in a normal setting, what that would look like for the partner organizations is we're helping to get those food pantries the food they need in order to serve the people that they help. We do that, so we work with those partner agencies, but we also do it another way. Is pre-COVID, we would be doing mobile food pantries, which we continue to do, but in a different way. And those mobile food pantries would go out to host sites and set up for a few hours typically and help do with food distribution. So that's one of the most direct ways that we have been in the past would be doing that, and we continue that, but in a little bit different, and I'll talk about that as well. The other thing is that we're part of Feeding America, which is you've heard about, and they've come to the fore and are quoted and have lots of interviews going on about the increase in food insecurity right now. But we're simply a member of that organization, and they have members in every state, and those are the food banks that act as basically the emergency food network throughout the United States, in which every county in every state is covered by a food bank. So how do we end hunger is the key piece. In a picture right now that I'm showing is basically our warehouse here on Dairy Drive on the east side of Madison. We typically do collect food donations as well as purchase items to get that through our food distribution. One of the other ways that we help eliminate hunger is through our Food Share outreach program. And Food Share is basically what would be formerly known as food stamps. We help people sign up for that because it's such an efficient way to also get hungry people food. By helping them sign up for that governmental program, they can take that card and purchase things directly at their local grocery store. For every $1 or one meal that we serve, they can serve like 9 times that through that program, because just the efficiencies of people being able to go and buy their own groceries. We also do a mobile pantry, which I talked about, school food pantry, and also pre-COVID, which it's now on hold, is a Kids Cafe program. Kids Cafe is where we would provide food to after-school programs at basically neighborhood sites. Think places like the Boys and Girls Clubs in Dane County and other neighborhood sites that kids would go to for after-school programming, and we help provide that food for a dinner meal to them. Unfortunately, that Kids Cafe program obviously is not happening right now because of kids not being able to get together in a congregate setting. But these other items, and also the school food pantry program that we kind of initiated, kind of had gotten going and had started going pre-COVID, is also obviously not really happening because there's not so many schools doing in person. But just to give you a background on what the school pantry program was, is trying to get a little bit more efficient by having schools have a set-aside area or a set-aside room that offers, selection of food. So that one of the ways that kids would bringing food home to their family or for themselves would be have been the backpack program. So like on a Friday, they would get some food and they would be sent home with a backpack of food. And that's kind of not a great efficiency way to do it, but really having that available throughout the school year, throughout the school open times, having a set-aside area in a school is a great way for families and kids to get fed as well. And so those are kind of a general overview of many of the programs that we do. The interesting thing about how we get the food that we distribute, we do rely on lots of donations of food, and that would be through local grocery stores. So places like Hy-Vee, Metcalf's, Pick and Save, those stores would be donating items to us, some things that maybe they have extra of, some things that are have a best by date that's coming up soon, things like that. Food manufacturers and processors are also a big one for us. So a great example of that would be the cheesemakers in Greene County, who would give us cheese. Typically, they donate bulk cheese to us, and here at our warehouse, we would use volunteers to get that broken down into more family or individual size packaging and being able to easily distribute that. We also do get things directly from farmers occasionally. A good example of that would be some of the egg farmers in our area. So they would give us, or some of the farmers that would be at the local markets, the weekly farmers markets, when they have some extra things, they might swing by and stop over to us and give us those extra things that they would have. The other source of food is occasionally there's 5 other food banks in Wisconsin that obviously we don't overlap geographically. So there's for another example, there was Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin that covers the eastern part of the state all the way from Milwaukee up to the Fox Valley. There's Second Harvest Heartland, which is up near the Twin Cities area. Those other food banks serve the rest of Wisconsin, but at times when they have extra items, we might be able to add, they would put out a call and say, hey, we have some extra things that if you're willing to come and get them, we want to get them out to as many people as possible, don't have the room to store them, come and get them. And so we sometimes will be able to exchange with other food banks some things that they may have and some things that we have extra. Of course, other source of food is food drives by organizations and individuals. We just finished up with our largest food drive of the year. That's through our Share Your Holidays campaign. And we've finished with that, but of course the food drives are way down this year because of for obvious reasons. People aren't in their schools, they're not in their businesses, so that source of food is not existent right now very much. And then we do a lot of purchasing of things, and we do have a produce co-op that we work with that works with food banks in the Midwest. That produce co-op is located in the Twin Cities area, and we get lots of fresh produce from there. So, for example, they would source food from the South, the southern states that can produce food throughout the year, fresh produce, fruits and vegetables. They truck that up to the co-op in the Twin Cities, and then it gets divided so that they can deliver it easily to the food banks in Wisconsin or Minnesota. So we do some things purchase from there, and then we of course purchase things from food and grocery distributors as well. Now, what has happened, I did say my presentation was about COVID and how we've responded. So that's really the meat of this and where it gets interesting. In March, when COVID hit and the lockdown started happening, basically Second Harvest as a food bank had to start thinking differently about how people and partner organizations were going to be served. And they basically, within a week or two, flipped our operation to adapt to the safety concerns and the needs that were out there. Pre-COVID, what we would do is we would typically take bulk food items to our partner pantries and deliver what they were asking for and what they kind of ordered from us, because we had that online for them to be able to choose what they'd like to receive that week or during that delivery. So that all basically came to an abrupt end. What we had to go back to was basically taking all those things and boxing them up into individual boxes for family members or individuals to pick up a contactless type of distribution. So what we got down to is basically a non-perishable box of items, things like canned goods, canned fruits, vegetables. We have what we call, some snack food, some pasta, things like that, mac and cheese, things that are non-perishable. Then we also offered a box of perishable items, which would be produce and dairy products, fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables, dairy items, milk, yogurt, that type of thing. And then we also have a frozen box. So most of the frozen box, a lot of that would be some protein items, things like meat, chicken, chicken nuggets, some frozen vegetables, sometimes frozen, anything that's frozen. So those were the options that we were able to distribute and offer to the food pantries. And that's how we've had to adapt to be able to offer that to people, both when we distribute through mobile pantry program or to our partner organizations. And so that continues today. And that boxed operation, you can only imagine, requires lots more work on our part to get those boxes prepared, because we're not talking just hundreds of boxes, we're talking hundreds of thousands of boxes. Wow. So since the pandemic, we've been told, and Feeding America has done studies, that we believe that about 1 in 8 people in southwestern Wisconsin are facing hunger, what we refer to as food insecurity, at some point in that month, that they're looking for alternative ways to feed themselves or their family. And then also about 1 in 4 kids right now are possibly food insecure. So now, how are we, where are we at this point? And I wanted to share some numbers with that. Since March 15th through the end of November, basically, these are the statistics. We've distributed over 14 million pounds of food. We've provided 569,000 and a little few extra, 569,469 food boxes.
Wow.
Then the meals that equivalent to meals for the number of pounds and boxes that we've distributed is almost 12 million meals. It's well over 11 million meals. And how that compares to 2019 is that it's 55% more food distributed in 2020 than 2019. So yeah, that's basically every month. I want to go back one slide. We're at, what would that be? March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It would be about 8 months time that I'm talking about. And we've distributed 14 million pounds in that time. Typically, in a typical year, it would be closer to about 8 or 9 million pounds during that time frame. So our new challenges have been a few. The challenges that we're facing in trying to serve people and trying to get food to people now was, first of all, and it continues a bit like this, it's sourcing this food. So we talked about where we would get our food in pre-COVID, and it's starting to come back from the groceries giving us donations. But we, at the beginning in March, April, and May, we had to source the food and we had to purchase a lot more food because those donations from the grocery stores weren't coming in. So what we were doing is we were purchasing a lot more food, and that put us in competition, in direct competition with the grocery stores. So it became a real tough thing because we were paying a lot for it because we were in competition for a scarce resource. As you remember, the pictures and photos and talk in March and April and May were about, you know, the pasta shelves at the grocery store were empty, and the soup can, there was no soup available, and there was no toiletries or toilet paper and paper towels, things like that. But for us, the real thing came down to, you know, trying to source, getting soup and getting pasta as well, just like the grocery stores were doing. The other challenges were staffing issues. Because of having to box things, we had to hire temporary workers, and some of those people are still with us now. We were able to hire for a time, we were able to hire some people that were working at Madison restaurants who were furloughed, and they came in and helped us as well as temporary workers. You can only also imagine another challenge was logistics, and that was having to do with how we're getting that food most efficiently out and in and prepped in those boxes and get ready to get out. And then, of course, it stretched our space needs. What had happened was we were trying to do a lot here, but we certainly found out that we had the option to set up basically an auxiliary warehouse at the Alliant Energy Center. If you can imagine, if you've been in the Alliant Energy Center convention space, there's basically that space can be divided up into 4 sections, 4 halls. We currently cover and are at the Alliant Energy Center to this day in 3 of those 4 halls. And it's basically an auxiliary warehouse space where we are storing food and also for preparing boxes with the help of staff and volunteers. There's thousands, actually possibly currently a million pounds of food at the Alliant Energy Center that we're helping, that are stockpiled there. So what we had is we had that space since March at Alliant Energy, and also then we found a space in Stoughton that we've expanded to, and that space in Stoughton allows us to have the ability to store perishable items there. And that was a great find for us because it has a big refrigerator, and we were able to prepare those. Excuse me, grab a drink here. The ability to work to prepare those perishable boxes, again, with the help of volunteers and staff right there in Stoughton. And that's pretty much exclusively in Stoughton is working on perishable items. And this is just a photo that I'm putting up now as one of the volunteers that's preparing the boxes of items at Stoughton. You can see she's working on has some eggs there available, some butter, things like that. We used to talk about how we would $1 donated to Second Harvest is equal to 3 meals, and it's pretty close to that still. Although it's probably a little bit less now, just because of we're not getting as the ability to have as much donated as we had in the past, and having it to purchase more of that food that we're distributing. Our sources of funding, by the way, people sometimes ask about that. It's basically still mostly individual gifts, some corporate and organizational sponsorships and gifts, and then foundation money. Up until this year, we had never received any governmental assistance. That had changed this year because of the Dane County CARES money that came through. Some of that money was then funneled to Second Harvest to help us purchase more food, and also to work with the local, I don't know if you heard the story that during the summer months, we actually had a great partnership aligned with the Dane County Farmers Market and the farmers that work with them. And we were able to help them by purchasing food directly from those farmers that work through the Dane County Farmers Market and get more fresh produce distributed. How you can help is basically just obviously listening today and knowing that what we've been through and what we're continuing to work up with, and helping to support us in any way you can through volunteerism, through a gift, a donation, or helping to get the word out about the needs in the community. And then there's my contact information here at Second Harvest. Obviously easy to find at secondharvestmadison.org. And I have posted my email address as well. And I welcome, I don't know what the time is, Tim. Let me check the time here. What's our timing? It's 12:35. But I welcome any questions, obviously, at this point that you might have about that or anything that was unclear.
Yes, I
And
do
Tim,
have a
you're
couple
welcome to
questions.
take. Yeah.
So if you're up 55% this year, but your donations seem to be down,
Well, what I was speaking towards, Tim, what I was speaking toward mainly was the donated items, so in-kind gifts, right?
Okay.
What we have seen, fortunately, what we've seen now recently is the giving season has progressed as far as financial. We've been doing well and steady, and people are really stepping up now as we get close,
Okay.
as we pass Thanksgiving. We're still going to be in a budget deficit probably as we go into 2021. But we do have, obviously this season of giving right now is really helping us. So we have seen an uptick, and we have seen an uptick very recently in our online gifts, which is great. People giving online, and now people giving through the mail as well. So we still probably, with the way things are working out, when we had a budget that we thought was good, and now it's not as good as it was. And so, to be honest, we know that there's going to be some challenges still ahead financially for us going into 2021, because we know that the COVID pandemic is not just a health pandemic, but it's an economic hardship time. And with things, some of these benefits stopping, governmental help and assistance that's going to be ending for some people, or hasn't happened. We feel like, going into January, February, and March, that there's still going to be people who are first time people using food banks and food pantries and our assistance. So we have a feeling that we're going to keep at this pace for quite a few months, and what that is going to require is lots of financial output on our part.
Okay. That does help explain quite a bit. So right now,
when I was trying to, I didn't really talk too much toward the amount of financial assistance we're getting, but what did help us a lot was that the money through the summer months and into the fall was the CARES Act money that Dane County received. And we as an essential service were part of the granting program from that money. So that really did help.
I was curious if since there's more discussions on I guess, since the CARES Act is kind of up, but there's more discussions on other grants coming out. Are there ones that that you're qualifying for then right now that you're hopeful to help with that as well, or is that unlikely?
Well, right now
requires more individuals.
Right now that funding is not. I don't believe that funding is secured for the new year, the new 2021 year. Okay, we have lots of grant requests out for other private individual, foundations and things like that. So those occasionally will come through, but what makes the big impact right now is helping to meet the need through large grants. And again, the biggest one that came through that we, like I said, never really had an option to get through was our CARES Act money, the CARES Act money that came to Wisconsin and Dane County. One of the other ones I want to mention that was a benefit of being part of Feeding America is, if you recall, Feeding America was at the forefront at the beginning of the pandemic, and still is, of doing fundraising. And what they do is, at Feeding America, when you give to Feeding America, they basically then distribute grants to food banks by the size of food bank that we are. So when you heard about, for example, Jeff Bezos at the beginning of the pandemic giving to Feeding America, we probably received, and I don't remember the amount, but we received some of that money here in Dane County from that gift that was given to Feeding America.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was
I have
curious
a-
with how much everything increased in need, how much you were seeing an increase in what was being provided as well. So I mean, there was the government acts, but I wasn't sure if individuals were able to do more to help out
Yeah,
as
I
well,
mean,
like you were saying.
well,
But like you said, you have to be
obviously
those.
some individual donors did respond to our, to that COVID time and gave extra gifts through the year, right?
Okay.
So they did, yeah, they certainly did step up. They didn't abandon the basic needs area, and certainly we were part of that. So yes, I would have to say that during that first initial 4 or 5 months, people were pretty generous. But then, of course, people's attention to certain issues waned, and now only have we seen another uptick just because of the holiday season.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So I have a question. I know that even during the pandemic, that the Educatory Needs Network has some volunteers working there. Just because you need people to fill up the boxes and take them out.
Right.
And so the Second Harvest also have volunteers still working?
We do. Yep, we sure do. We have volunteers working and socially distanced at all the distributions, our warehouse here at Dairy Drive, as well as the Alliant Energy Center and in the Stoughton warehouse. We have volunteers there every day working. They're all masked, obviously. All precautions are being taken as much as possible. The key piece to there is it works really well with a bigger warehouse space like the Alliant Energy Center or in the Stoughton warehouse, because you can basically have stations where people can go one to another to fill those boxes, to help us fill boxes, and they can keep their distance, and then they can put boxes on carts to go from put those items in those carts, or in those boxes. So it's a pretty efficient way that they've got it down to at those sites to fill the food boxes that we're doing, and that's the biggest part, is utilizing the people to put together these boxes.
Wow. Well, that is amazing that
one statistic that I did not include. Yeah, just to tell you the statistic, I didn't want to bore you with too many statistics, but one of the statistics since the March 15th time is we've utilized over 45,000 volunteer hours during that time as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of people,
It
a lot of
does.
effort to get it
It
done.
does.
Yep. It's just one of those behind the scenes hidden things that you don't think about. I wish I had a little video to show you of the Alliant Energy Center, because you walk in there and it's been transformed into a giant warehouse, basically.
Wow.
And it works well for us, because realizing on the back side of that, there's a dock area for our semis to load and unload from as well, because it was set up for the trade show, convention space, and it allows us to put truck trailers right to the back of that to unload and load food by the pallet load.
Wow. Well, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is going to be helpful even when the pandemic is over, to have that way of distribution and different centers to do things. It's kind of streamlined everything. So, maybe there's some good that's coming out of this pandemic also.
Well, I would imagine there'll be some good efficiencies and lessons learned for sure with the way we utilize our volunteers and what they've been doing. But I can assure you that all of us will want to go back to how it was, where we don't have to have satellite warehouses set up at the Alliant Energy Center with food. Yeah, I hope, I don't know, but how long we'll be there, but for the foreseeable future, for the next number of months, we will. And we certainly will be in Stoughton as well. Now, Stoughton's a different situation because Stoughton's a smaller space than Alliant Energy Center. But again, Alliant Energy Center is only there because that space is not being utilized currently, right? There's no events happening. So there's no other, you know, as you know, that's also the other building is being used for COVID testing. So those are the two community outreach, there community support things that are happening right now at that space. It's unfortunate, but we can only wait for the day when we won't have to have a COVID testing site or a food bank warehouse set up on.
We are excited about
convention
that.
Center.
Yes, but thank goodness those sites are available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That they're getting good use as well. I'm sure when you won't need them, they'll have other uses for the space as well. But right now, that's
right. Definitely.
And I'm giving you back the presentation there.
Okay.
So, anybody else have any questions or have any concerns about anything I've said? Like I said, you know, talked about. Obviously, please reach out now or later. It's not a problem. Happy to answer any follow-up questions. If I don't have the answer, we have plenty of people here that can answer it.
One thing that I know that I like to see as well is when, and it hasn't been able to happen right now, but it was happening in years before, was how schools were involved and able to get to this. That way, I know I have two kids in the elementary age, and they like to get involved in things like that, and just seeing the presence out there, and that they can start this at a young age, and hopefully get that mindset as they're getting older as well. So that I know that they've missed that part this year, and I try to keep them involved here. But it was definitely one thing that just the family person in me kind of comes out there and sees that they like to get involved and enjoy it, and it really the work that you do is amazing, and that just makes me see more of it.
And we were at the other end of the spectrum. Tom and I volunteered through the senior center in Fitchburg to help distribute things when we were able to volunteer. So it's just, you know, our whole community benefited by being able to volunteer also.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of unfortunate, Tim, that at this point that, you know, the schools would have participated in food drives throughout this November Share Your Holidays, November, December Share Your Holidays campaign. Obviously, that couldn't happen as much. There were some schools that did some virtual things and had like drop off at the school points or things like that. So that's some of that did carry on, but I can appreciate what you're saying about the ability for somebody to give something tangible to somebody else is an important part of what we do as a food network, for sure. I don't know if you saw, there was a large drive-up food drive that we did at Alliant Energy Center. It was in December, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and that was really well received. It actually did very well. People were able to just pull up and drop things off in the front of Alliant Energy Center, and it did really well.
Awesome.
I wasn't aware of that.
There was we had the help of some of the National Guard, a few National Guard folks helping us load the semis, and we also had some participation by some of the coaches from UW.
Well, that's good.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Chris? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, very nice, very thorough, and very heartwarming. So thank you so much.
The one thing I didn't get to, obviously get to share is some of the, and I would like to have more time, is just to realize that these are the folks that we're serving are our neighbors right now, and
that's right.
It gets a little emotional on my part because that's really where our mission is, and we are being such a basic service. And, if you had the opportunity, as some of you had mentioned, like even going, helping at some of these places, you don't realize, that these are, again, people of all ages and backgrounds that are now needing help. And it's unfortunate, but that's our reality right now in Wisconsin.
Exactly. And I know for a lot of people it's hard to ask for help, especially from neighbors. So having someone else that they can go to get it, it might be from neighbors, but just in a way that
Right.
at least they can ask and receive the help that's necessary.
Right. Absolutely. Well, as always, I appreciate the Rotary and everything that you guys have do to support the community. So thank you guys as well.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you, and you're welcome.